You're watching It's Life with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to It's Life. It's Juan Lee. I'm here with you again, and I'm going solo. Hey, we're going solo. So it's just me, no Oliver tonight. So again, I would like to welcome you to It's Life, and it's sponsored by Clear Journey, a nonprofit that looks to support individuals on their life's journey. We provide education and resources so that you can navigate life more successfully. And one of the things that we use to help people navigate this experience called life is with a book that I wrote a couple years ago. It's called Love Made Simple: The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success, where we talk about a love mindset. The love mindset is that which we use to navigate various areas of life, especially things like our relationships, finances, our health and wellness, and overall self-improvement. It's the right mindset to navigate life successfully so that you can reach your full potential. If you would like to get a copy of it, it's on Amazon. You can also pick it up on Audible. It's an Audible book also. Any of those things that you can do to support us would be really appreciative. But that's the book. I wrote it. I really feel good about it. You can enjoy it also if you can pick up a copy. It really helps us out. So we do thank you in advance for that. Also, one of the things that we really, I can't say that enough, support is financial literacy. And if you go over to Clear Journey, we have a book. It's an ebook. It's called Budgeting Made Easy: The Guide to Taking Charge of Your Money. Go over to the website and you can pick it up. It is absolutely free. Just go over to clearjourney.org and that's your info. It's here. It's clearjourney.org. And that's where you can go and you can pick that up for free. And so we really look forward to you getting that. And if you already have it, give it to someone else who might need it. So we really appreciate that you're here and that's there for you. Again, Clear Journey is a nonprofit. It's a 50c3. If you want to know more about what we do, go over to clearjourney.org, and we have everything that that you can deal with, or who we are over there. If this is your first time here, welcome. If this is your time, if you're returning and you're coming back, we appreciate. But if you have not already registered or subscribed to our YouTube channel, please help us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really would appreciate your support in that fashion. If you would just subscribe to our YouTube channel. You might be seeing this on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn, but our community is on YouTube. So by all means, come be a part of our community on YouTube by subscribing to our channel. It is Clear Journey Inc. Is the website, or the YouTube channel, so that you might be able to be a part of what's going on. Again, if you go to our website, though, you can register through our newsletter or keep in touch with when we drop new videos on our YouTube channel. So tonight is no different than any other night. We have a guest, and our guest is going to help us in the area of being able to understand how to protect ourselves and our legacies. And as it relates to providing resources so that we can be able to navigate life more successfully. That's what it's all about. And so let's get to it. Let's talk about who our guest is. He's a distinguished attorney, a partner at Alberts and Associates, LLC, with a career spanning state and federal court. He specializes in corporate law, commercial litigation, estate planning, and even self-defense matters. He is also an adjunct law professor at CUNY School of Law, where he teaches wills, trusts, and estate. And this is the part that I'm really interested in, torts. I'd like to know a little bit more about that myself. So we're going to have him come on and help us navigate this thing called life in a way that he knows how, only he knows how. This is Troy Brown, Esquire. Welcome.
Thank you, Juan. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you spending some time with us and really helping us to navigate this space that you navigate daily. We talked about this a little bit when you came in, and it's something that we really don't think about until we have a need one way or another.
Right.
But I think if we understood better a little bit how, I'm going to use this word, the system works, I think it will help us in navigating this thing called life. So, Troy, before we get started, tell people, I gave people a little snippet of who you are.
Yes.
Tell people who you are and what it is you do.
Thank you. And again, it's an honor to be here. So I'm a partner at Albers and Associates. I've been practicing law for just under 22 years now. And my practice spans, as you noted, commercial litigation, transactional work, meaning mergers and acquisitions, creating companies, dissolving them, helping them acquire or be acquired, and again, corporate governance. Think of corporate governance as making sure that the body of an organization is healthy and that it's run formally. And as you noted, I do some estate planning and probate matters. And my clients really run the gamut of industry, trash removal companies, construction companies, renovation companies, HVAC companies, franchisees, electronics companies, a few AI companies, medical technology, CPAs, consulting firms, insurance companies, churches, nonprofits, commercial real estate entities, energy auditors, individuals in employment matters. I'm pretty agnostic about the industry, and I really pattern myself as a consigliere. If you've ever seen Godfather, it's one of my favorite movies. For those of you out there, if you remember Godfather, think of Tom Hagen minus the mafia aspect.
Okay.
I want to be my client's trusted advisor. If they need help with something, even if it's outside of my wheelhouse, I'm honored when they come to me. Troy, we've got a problem. We've got this issue or opportunity. What do you think about this? If it's something I can help with, I give my clients a full SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If it's litigation, I give them the benefit of my advice. I'll go to court with them, obviously, and fight for them, either on defense or as plaintiff. And if it's something outside of my wheelhouse, I've got a pretty good coterie of professionals, both within the legal industry and without. And again, I try to pattern myself as a trusted advisor and give them real talk. A good friend tells you what you need to hear, not always what you want to hear. And that's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell you, this conversation, I think, already has the ability to open people's eyes and ears to what's out there. What's out there, the opportunities that you stated, or the ability to be a plaintiff or defendant.
Right.
Both spectrums has a need for counsel.
Indeed.
And I mean, we say it and we hear about it so oftentimes, but we really don't understand that how you do, and especially as you were talking about acquisitions. I mean, there's a way to do this thing, and it's essential to succession planning.
Indeed.
And I think a lot of us live so day to day that we don't even recognize the need or understanding for succession planning. And we talk about that even in our personal lives.
Right.
That's more in some type of organization that you're trying to acquire or to try to sell and do and things like that. That's a very real situation that I think in life we need to be able to understand that that's a part of life that we have to deal with.
Most definitely. Both as a succession as a matter of business planning, succession as a matter of personal planning. Life can get busy. I know you know, I definitely know, as a business owner, life can be busy. As an individual, life can be busy. And we're often in the mode of focusing on doing the work that we don't often think about what happens after, 2 and 3 steps ahead, right? What happens when I'm done with this or when I'm ready to be done with this? As a business, people get older, and a lot of business owners are very passionate about the work that they do. They have their strengths and weaknesses. Typically, providing the product or the service is their strength. I don't know many business owners that like to think about the things that I have to think about. Corporate governance. Well, how do we write an employment agreement? How do we write an operating agreement or a shareholders agreement? Let me think about the nitty gritty of that. No, they're typically hiring me to do that. They want to perform the product, the service. They want to help their clients, but thinking about what happens when they're not there anymore, what happens when they're ready to sell a business. It's not something you wake up and then do the next day. It really properly should require a few years of planning. And on the individual basis, it's a little different. Thinking about estate planning has a macabre feel to it. I don't want to think about my own mortality, and I'm going to put off any thinking about what happens to my stuff until later. Later often becomes a deathbed. And that is obviously the wrong time to be thinking about estate planning. And it often has a socioeconomic perspective as well. People who are used to having assets, who are used to building and passing on wealth, don't often associate it with any kind of emotional state. It's always been done, and they're thinking about it early. What I tell my clients, and I have a partner that does nothing but estate planning isn't something you think about once. It's something you think about all the time. Anytime there's a birth, a death, an acquisition of property or an asset, a disposition of it, a marriage, a divorce, any major life event is typically a time to revisit your estate plan. Remove the emotion from it, because here's what happens. If you don't have an estate plan, the state will take care of your stuff for you. It's what they call intestacy laws. The whole notion behind estate planning law is that you have the freedom to do what you want with your stuff. As an American, that's a relatively unique privilege in the world. Many countries around the world really don't let you do a lot with your stuff. It's mandated that your property goes to certain kinds of family members. Having the freedom to determine who gets your stuff is important. And I'm using stuff in a very broad way, both physical assets, personal property, real property, liquid cash, whatever. Having that freedom is something that we have as an American. And the best way to take advantage of that, to honor that freedom, is to plan ahead, not waiting until you are sick or dying. And obviously, when you're dead, it's too late. I've had a number of clients who have begun their estate plan and never finished it. I've had some who have had to sign trust documents, will documents, literally on their deathbeds. And that complicates things. It's best to do it while begin to do it while you're relatively young, when you're beginning to have children, getting married, acquiring property. It's best to go ahead and do it, because it can always be updated, but it can't be done when you are obviously dead, or if you have a declining mental faculties, it can make it incredibly difficult to do, let alone enforce.
And that's the rest of the story. This, you really basically, and I'll be honest with you, you're stepping on some toes, mine over here, because it's something that if you put that statement, life gets in the way,
Right.
and you start things and you don't finish them and things change.
Mhm.
Let's just be clear. I mean, I'm laying it out there.
I'm with you.
I'm the first partaker of what you just said, hearing it in a very new way, in a sense of understanding. One of the things that I like to share with people as it pertains to that information, as it relates to death,
Yes.
to understand, you just said it so very clear, is that estate planning is, you have to do it outside of emotions of the event.
Definitely.
And if we don't understand the need to do that, we allow the event to control us.
Exactly.
And allows us to dictate to us what it is that we really want to say and state with our stuff.
Yes.
And it's as though we are I don't know, there's no nice way of putting this. We are avoiding something that is inevitable,
right,
without any regards for this experience.
Yes.
I mean, because we've gathered this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and if it means something,
Right.
it should be something that you would want to transfer. You would
Right.
want to advance or carry on or to move on. And
Absolutely.
Everything that you talked about, a birth, a wedding, a marriage. But when we get to the death part, we skip over how significant that aspect of that marriage, that birth, all of those, it all comes together. It all works together. It's not in a vacuum. You're not getting married and be happy and you think about it. There is a full circle.
Right. That's exactly right. And while it's difficult to overlook our own mortality, one of the things I tell my clients when they're thinking about these things, think about the people that you love around you. Take the emphasis off of you and make their lives easier. Because again, in the absence of an estate plan, the family will have to open an estate, go through probate court, and that's really tantamount to winding down a business. You're paying off debts. You're trying to determine who gets what according to your particular state's intestacy laws. You're hiring an attorney. It can be an expensive, prolonged process. And the way I described it is a relatively smooth one. If there's family acrimony, one of the most acrimonious fields of the law is probate administration. When people don't have a will or a trust, they're often fighting over things. Now, I've seen that before. It can rip families apart. It can open up old wounds. It can exacerbate declining and deteriorating relationships. It can be very, very difficult. It's stressful. So again, planning ahead, thinking about your loved ones can make their lives easier if we take a little bit of time and do it early. And again, it goes back to succession planning too. Businesses go through the exact same thing when people don't properly go through formalities when it comes to corporate governance. For a limited liability company, having a well-written operating agreement. For a corporation, having a shareholders agreement. What happens when there is a dispute, death, or disability? What happens with the company? If you and I were to form a company, Juan, and we're best friends, we have this idea to make widgets. We don't need any kind of agreement where we're all good. The happy joys of starting a business can overwhelm people's rational sense for reducing things to paper. And it's all good when we're having fun making money, But what happens when there's a disagreement, and not even an earth-shattering one, but you want to take the company in a different direction, what happens then? Having a business dispute can be tantamount to going through a divorce. And I call them business divorces. It's best to formally lay out what happens for dispute resolution, how to wind down a company, what happens if I were to get hit by a truck and be disabled. You can plan for these things no matter how macabre they are, no matter how disturbing they are. If we plan for them and properly document what's supposed to happen in an event like that, it can make all of these issues not easy to deal with, but easier and predictable.
Yeah. Hey, we've gathered and started the conversation and everything and got into it. And it's really, it's at a really it's at an optimal level because it's the reality of why this stuff is necessary. Indeed. So let's get into some questions here, and hopefully we can gather, the community can get some information so that they can use it and see the importance of this bigger picture from the bottom. Estate planning. What's some of the biggest misconceptions about estate planning and the importance of it? Why did we really talk about the things that the biggest misconceptions of it are already? No. Are there others?
No, I'm glad you're asking that very, very specific and fundamental question. I think a lot of people think, well, when I'm dead, what does it matter, right? And that is a big misconception. I'm not here. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you are a single person, not married, with no kids, maybe that's the case. Maybe. But that's not most people. Most people have families. They've got kids. Again, they've got family members, or they've got something they care about. If you are a person who's married with children, or if you have children, if you're divorced, it doesn't matter. If you've got family members, close family members, thinking that your corporeal death won't affect other people is myopic and a bit selfish for some of the reasons I talked about earlier. And just to go back to it, if you have kids, if you have a spouse, if you have living parents, they'll be the ones left to deal with your estate when you die. So the idea that I'm gone, it doesn't matter, only forces other people to handle something that you could have handled a little bit easier before. Because again, in the absence of an estate plan, a will, or trust, your state's law kicks in. The state has a very specific formula for who gets what. And that may not be what you want. If you are estranged from your kids, if you don't want certain kids to have certain things, or if you want your kids to have certain things, you are abdicating your right as an American citizen to determine what happens with your stuff. And I don't know about you, but I know for me, I don't want anybody telling me what I can do with my stuff. I want to have that option. If I know that maybe a certain kid needs something in particular, if I'm not looking out for that particular child, then again, I've given up my ability to help my family. And that's important to most people. If you have a particular cause you care about, maybe you want your assets to go to a particular charity or school. If you're not creating an estate plan, that's not going to happen. So that's a fundamental misconception that I'm dead, it doesn't matter. Another misconception is that hiring a lawyer is too expensive. That's not necessarily true. Most estate planning lawyers are reasonably priced. My firm does it. I do a little bit of it. My partner, Holly Musselman, does nothing but that. It's not prohibitive for most people to create a will or trust, particularly if you have a relatively simple estate. It may cost between $1,000 and $4,000. Most lawyers will work with you in some kind of way, shape, or form or another. I would not let cost or fear in particular be a prohibiting factor. And frankly, I think the biggest misconception is that people's emotions and their fear of death should be prohibitive. And again, I'm thinking about thinking about your own mortality. It's not fun to think about, not for most people, because it can be emotional. But I think greater is the need to think about your right as a person, your right as an American to determine what happens with your property.
And at the core of what you're talking about is that love mindset.
Exactly.
Is at the core of that, because you have to you're not selfish.
Right.
And to do what you're talking about, it is to remove selfishness. You have to be concerned and care about somebody else besides yourself.
Exactly.
And that's the mindset we're talking about, because whether or not we want to, we've got to embrace this mortality, whether we want to or not.
Right.
And by embracing it, it allows the continuation. If you think about it, it allows the continuation of who you are into the next generation.
That's exactly right. Well stated.
And that's the part that we've got to get over as it relates to this information, because this information, without the right mindset, it's going in the ears and they're hearing it. Because when you talk about, I ain't gonna be here,
right,
it's not about you being here.
Exactly.
It is not about you being here. It's about you investing into the future.
Exactly. What you just said right there, I think, is probably the most important thing. Estate planning is all about passing on wealth, and wealth doesn't only mean money. Wealth comes primarily in the form of education. It could be sentimental objects or anything. I mean, you're right about that. It's about investing in the future, as not to make this inherently racial, but as Black people, we've been deprived of a number of different things throughout our history in this country. And being able to pass on wealth in any form, whether it is a house or a cookbook, information, that is powerful. It creates legacy. The past informs the present into the future. And you're right, it's all about love, which is not selfish. Love is strength, and being able to look through that fear and overcome it to benefit your family members, your loved ones, because it don't have to be family members that you're giving your wealth to. It could be your friends, your family, or the friends are really the family you choose. Anybody. That is all about love. Absolutely.
And again, we're here to lay that foundation of a love mindset on this information so that we can digest it. We can really receive the value of understanding this information, because
Exactly.
Information without the right attitude, it is just like not having it. It's
Exactly.
like going right on by. But when you see something like this and you go, like, for many people, if selfishness is in your mindset, you're not going to hear this conversation.
Not at all. And that word selfish is a very interesting one, right? Because any word with the suffix ish, ish, means kind of like, right? Something like, or a particular characteristic of, kind of like yourself. Be self-interested, be self-enlightened, but being selfish is a lower form of being yourself.
Boy, that's enlightening to understand that statement. I mean, I tell you, we want to provide education and resources. And what we're doing here is it allows us to understand that whatever we're sharing, you've got to be open to receive it.
Yes.
You've got to be receptive. And it takes a different mindset. We're talking about a mindset shift to be able to adequately do what you're talking about doing, because as you was talking about the fees and stuff, and we say it's not that expensive, but it's relative to someone who's selfish.
Exactly.
And if you want to invest, we've got to be able to see the value in the professional counsel necessary to do the investing.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So let's get a little bit the difference between wills and trusts. Let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Okay. So a will is a testamentary act. It is a document that tells the state who you want to give your possessions to, your property, again, real property, personal property, whomever. It is done by a testator, the person who is wanting to give their property away upon death. They're designating beneficiaries, the people to whom they want to give their property to. And as long as somebody has the mental capacity, they're aware of their assets, and they are aware of the people to whom they want to give them, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Now, there are statutory protections for a spouse. So spouses typically will get something, whether it's half of the estate or maybe all of the estate, depending on whether they're minor children. It's very, very difficult to disinherit a spouse. But for everybody else, you can do whatever you want. There's nothing in American law requiring that you give any property to an adult child. Minor children are protected and spouses are, but if you didn't want to give something to your adult kid, you don't have to, and they can't do anything about it. Freedom of disposition is the underlying principle within estate planning. Now, the problems with a will, and I'll talk about a trust in a second, the problem with a will is that it requires the probate process, meaning that the court has to be involved. They have to authenticate the will. A person has to apply to become the personal representative, meaning that they are the person in charge of taking care of the estate. And think of an estate like winding down a business. The personal representative is in charge of paying off the debts of the decedent, the person that died. And then after they do that, they have to distribute the assets according to the will. They've got to pay taxes if there are any taxes due. And it's basically a court supervised wind down of a person's business. A lot of people don't like that idea because, again, it can take a while. People can contest things. They don't want the court in their business. Having a trust will avoid all of that. Think of a trust like a box, a conceptual box. You can put anything in that box. Again, you can put your real property in there, houses. You can put your personal property in that box, your money, jewels, stocks, bonds, intellectual property, whatever. And a trust has a few different elements also. You have the trustee, the person who is designated in the trust document to oversee the trust. The trust also has beneficiaries, the people to whom assets will be distributed. If a will creates an estate that has to be wound down, a trust is kind of the opposite. It's essentially a business in a sense. The trustee is the CEO of that business, and their job is to take whatever property is in that box and create income from it. If the pie is this big, their job is to make the pie bigger so they can distribute the income to the beneficiaries. And a trust can have any number of different conditions to it. So, and you've probably heard about some of these. If anybody remembers the movie Brewster's Millions, one of Richard Pryor's more popular movies, right? That movie involved a trust. You will get this money if you do this, or you'll get this money if you don't do this. This money is earmarked for your education. If you decide to go to a 4-year college, then you'll have this money allocated to you. This money will be allocated to you when you turn a certain age, or if you get married. Having a trust allows people to control how property is distributed to beneficiaries. Again, it can set conditions under which they do and don't get money. It allows for wealth to be distributed in a way that can be both grown and handed out for the care and support of people, really. And it's not uncommon for people to have both.
A will and a trust.
Yes.
And what would be the reasonings for having both?
So a will determines what happens with property when you die. And you may have what they call a pour over will, where the will has property designated in it that may go into a trust when a person dies. But a trust is really for the active management of people, whether they are minor people, disabled people, or adults. It's relatively common for wealthy people to have trusts as well. And again, a trust has the benefit of not being administered through probate. So the person, and that's a major advantage, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it's outside of a court supervision for the most part, except under very dire circumstances when a trustee may be accused of mismanaging a trust, breaching their fiduciary duty, meaning their duty to properly manage the trust. For the most part, a trust is outside of the court's purview. So it's really for passing on wealth, making sure that people are supported, and is really a very active wealth management tool. If we're talking about passing down wealth, it's one of the most powerful ways to do it. It's a great idea to do when there are many people to whom you want to support throughout their lives or for a certain period. If you have family members, complicated assets, again, it provides some degree of comfort that there will be income available for people that you're looking to take care of.
So for people who are hearing what you're saying, a will is good, but a trust is better in regards to managing and having specifics as relates to, well, you can do that with the will too, but this is an active document. This can be an active document. The trust, it's something that you can operate even in your presence while you're still living.
Absolutely.
And it's an active thing that even in your death, it then becomes something that your wishes will be continued with the trustee at managing that same trust.
That's exactly right. Well stated.
Okay. For that being the case, what are some of the mistakes that people make in estate planning, and how can they avoid them?
Common mistakes. When people think of estate planning, they automatically and very narrow-mindedly think will. They equate the two terms. And there are a lot of different aspects to estate planning. Updating your insurance policy for your beneficiaries, updating any kind of insurance policy, updating your bank accounts. A lot of people, they may get benefits through their work, right? 401k plan, for instance. They do it once, they set it up, they designate a beneficiary, and then they never think about it again. And sometimes there can be a lot of life changes over the course of your employment, and then people die. And maybe the person that you originally designated, say your first wife, for instance, that person gets divorced. They now have a second wife, but they never took the first wife off of the beneficiary designation. Well, now you've got somebody inheriting money that was really, that really should have been taken off maybe years ago. So when we think estate planning, it's important to think broad. Updating pay on death designations, again, other insurance policies, 401k plans, bank accounts. Estate planning also includes advanced medical directives. And again, this can be sad and macabre to think about, but it's important. What do you want to happen to you if you were to slip into a persistent vegetative state? What do you want to happen to you if you are in a coma or contract a disease? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want blood transfusion? This has a religious and spiritual connotation to it for some people. Designating what you want to have happen to you when you are maybe sick or dying or temporarily incapacitated.
Unable to do it for yourself. Unable to do it for yourself, to make the decision for yourself.
That's exactly right. So it's important to have an advanced medical directive. Another aspect of estate planning also is having a power of attorney. If you are, again, temporarily incapacitated, who would you want to make important, say, financial decisions for you or health decisions for you? Having a trusted person designated as your attorney, in fact, not a lawyer. Attorney, in fact, is the person designated to operate for you if you're to become incapacitated. So power of attorney, and certainly having a well-drafted will. That's important also, or a well-drafted trust. Can you pull a trust document or a will document off the internet? Sure, you can do that. I don't recommend lay people doing it though, because you may read some terms that you think you understand, but you don't. There's lots of legalese in these documents because they're a legal document. It's a good template to have, but it's not something to rely upon. So to recap, having a power of attorney drafted, advanced medical directives, making sure that any kind of policy, again, insurance policy, 401k, anything that has a pay on death or transfer on death designation, making sure those are updated frequently. Again, with any major event, birth, death, marriage, or divorce, making sure those are updated. And again, having a well-drafted will and a trust, particularly for married people. If you're married, if you've been married, having one, if you're on your second marriage, it's even more important. Think about the Brady Bunch, right? We have this idyllic picture of a blended family. Mm-hmm. Carol had 3 kids, Mike had 3 kids, right? Well, does Carol want Mike's kids to have anything? Maybe, maybe not. So it's important to make sure that we have a will, particularly with blended families, that reflects what people want to have happen. Otherwise, things can get complicated. What happens if you adopt a child? Well, if you adopt a child, that child is legally yours and they can inherit from you. But do you want them to inherit from you? These are all the decisions that we need to be thinking about and making in our estate planning documents. So whenever people say, I need a will, well, let's talk about that first. What's going on in your life? Tell me about your family. Tell me about your relationships. Tell me about the property you own. And then let's talk about whether you need a will, the type of will you need. Do you need a trust? And let's talk about these other documents. Again, the power of attorney, advanced medical directives. Let's get everything straight. So I think the most important thing to take away is that estate planning is more than just a will. It's a lot broader. It's a broader term than that.
And from what you're saying, it's something that is ongoing. It's constant. It's something that it's changing.
Sure.
So to be aware of the moving parts that are involved in estate planning, and who is estate planning for? This is probably a big misconception too. Look, who is estate planning for or not for? Is there anybody that estate planning is not for?
I can't think of any demographic or any type of person that it's not for. I think it's really for everybody, unless you're that person that doesn't have any relationships, doesn't own anything. You're going out of this world the same way you came in. Maybe for that person, when you're born with nothing, you're dying with nothing. Maybe for that person, but that's really not most of us. Most of us have something that we care about, and at least someone we care about. If you have something you care about and someone you care about, then having an estate plan is a good idea. And at the very least, you care about yourself. You may not want to be maintained in a vegetative state. You may not want a blood transfusion. You may not want your body cremated. You may not want your organs donated. These are all the things to think about. So again, if you care about yourself, it's a good idea to think about. By way of example, to illustrate that I'm not just coming up with theoretical scenarios or hypothetical scenarios, I think it was in the early 2000s, there was a woman named Terri Schiavo. And that name may, yeah, thank you, good. A lot of people may remember that name. This is a woman who had bulimia for a number of years, and bulimia can be a very dangerous condition. It's an eating disorder, and many people identify that but don't think about the ramifications. Anyway, she had bulimia and developed a heart condition that led to her being or having a coma. And she was in a coma for, I think, the better part of 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Medically speaking, parts of her brain had liquefied to the point where the person that anyone would have known as Terri Schiavo had long passed. She had no estate plan. Apparently, she told her husband that she didn't want to be kept in any kind of persistent vegetative state. But her family, her parents in particular, didn't want to let go of their daughter. And it became a big fight involving Congress. Juan, all of that could have been avoided with one document.
One document and the right mindset.
Indeed. That's exactly.
And I think this is, you had something that was inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
And you had someone who did not have the right mindset that drew this thing out into a place in a state that, I mean, I remember that case.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, over the years, it just became clearer and clearer that we just aren't able to accept that thing called death.
Yes.
We can't accept it as real as birth.
Absolutely. Inevitable.
And as defining as anything.
Indeed.
But yet we're unwilling to accept it for being a completion,
right,
instead of a loss.
This is true.
It's a completion,
right?
Not a loss. And I think psychologically, we got to get to that point where we see it as a conclusion instead of a loss. But we're quickly saying, "I'm sorry for your loss."
Right.
I'm sorry for your loss. Instead of saying, we appreciate the experience and the conclusion that we've gained from this experience and this relationship, and see value in the time that we shared.
Yes.
Instead of accepting the fact that this is a loss.
I think you're right about that. Loving somebody is incredibly special. Grieving is the cost we pay for loving somebody. And I get that it's difficult to let go. There's no doubt about it. I lost my mother, my brother, both within an 18-month span. And I understand it. It's difficult to let people go. But like you said, it's as sure as anything. It's inevitable for all of us. None of us is guaranteed to be here forever. That's for sure. So again, one of the things to make it easier is to help plan for the future. And that future does include death and succession.
Yeah, I mean, it's man, can we just appreciate each other and ourselves enough to say, embrace the totality of this experience.
Right.
Embrace it. And man, how much richer this experience will be.
Yeah.
Because it allows us to do the estate planning.
Right.
With the anticipation of investing
That's
into
right.
the next generation.
Sure.
It is such a wonderful thing to be able to embrace that experience or that opportunity. That opportunity. See what I'm saying? I mean, that's an alternative mindset. That's an alternative way of thinking, to saying there's an opportunity to invest into the future.
Juan, I think that's a healthy paradigm shift. I wish more people would adopt it.
Well, I mean, it's this thing called life.
Right.
And so, hey, again, this is all about educating and providing resources.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to be able to get past, we've got to envision a need for a shift, a change.
Yes.
In our mindset, so we can gravitate to the things that are necessary, not only for ourselves, but for the community around us and to the generations to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, this is that, man, I tell you, this conversation has really galvanized how parallel, everything that we do. There is no, this thing is no big secret, a surprise. People who understand wealth,
mm-hmm.
understand estate planning.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we've got to get the understanding mm-hmm. so that we can participate in, because in our communities, we're talking about this wealth, building wealth, like we're getting this idea about wealth, but it takes the proper mindset, because here's the thing about building wealth. You typically don't get to experience, you don't get, if it's a first generation wealth, building wealth, it's what you're leaving. You're in the journey of building it.
That's right.
It's different than being able to be a part of wealth, the benefactor of wealth.
Mm-hmm. Now you said it. Building it's one thing, protecting it's another, and being able to pass it on in a way that allows it to grow and helps the future, your next generation, your descendants. That has to be part of the conversation as well.
That's the purpose of it, because you ain't look. You building it is one thing,
right?
Protecting it, as you said, is another thing, for the purpose of passing it on.
Exactly.
There's no selfishness in there.
There really can't be.
There can't be. Can't be. Look, we're not going to get caught up, because I could be on this box for all night. Let's talk a little bit about torts.
Okay.
Tell me about torts. Let me know what that's about.
So tort. Yes, tort is a French word that means twisted. Tort is all about, or tort law is all about the law of injury. That includes bodily injury, injury to your reputation, injury to your mental state. Tort is the private law equivalent of criminal law, where criminal law is all about the state punishing an actor, a bad actor. Tort law looks to allocate resources from a tortfeasor, somebody who causes an injury, to a plaintiff who has been hurt by an injury. And the underlying idea, the underlying principle behind torts is making a victim whole, or trying to make them whole. There are a lot of economists that debate whether that's even possible, because typically the way that tort law does it is by giving you money, which may or may not be adequate depending on the circumstances. If you were a baseball playing phenom about to graduate high school to be drafted by a Major League Baseball team, and I cut your right arm off, God forbid, if I give you $1 million, does that make you whole? Probably not. You've been deprived of a lifetime of accolades and accomplishment and pride that money can never really make right. So that's a classic example of why the tort system, by its very nature, may be inadequate. But for the most part, tort law is all about reallocating resources to make whole a victim and deter a tortfeasor. It's not really looking to punish a tortfeasor unless they've acted in such an egregious, reckless, or intentional manner, an outrageous manner. For the most part, it's looking to deter and compensate.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind when you say something like that is that I look at my car insurance policy.
Yes.
Is that similar to what we were talking about as it relates to it's that ability to make a person whole that was not at fault in anything,
Sure.
or that you created something for, you've maimed or you've disabled somebody or you've harmed them in some way,
Sure.
and that's the insurance that covers this space, and that's in essence what this tort is all about.
That's right. And insurance, by its very nature, whether it's car insurance or any other kind of other insurance, umbrella insurance, business insurance, is all about managing risk, allocation of risk, and awareness of it. So none of us will ever be safe actors 100% of the time. We're humans, and humans are prone to failure. Hopefully not often, but we're prone to it eventually. And the one aspect of insurance is about making people whole. And insurance, from an economic and actuarial perspective, is all about pooling enough money from enough people and hoping that all of your insured people don't have an accident at the same time, but that a few of them will have accidents that they can't pay for out of pocket or would ruin them if they had to pay out of pocket. So an insurance company is looking to play the law of averages, getting enough people together in a pool that are likely to face the same risk, collect enough money from them, and if a few of them happen to get into an accident, that there's enough money in that pool to pay off a victim. Now, there are a couple different problems with that, of course, with any kind of insurance. What happens if everyone in that pool, all of your insured people, have an accident at the same time? And this is not only happening, Juan, it'll happen more. You can think about areas in Florida. You can think about areas in California with wildfires, with increasingly catastrophic weather phenomena, where you are talking about maybe millions of people being affected. The problem with insurance is if everyone or a lot of people within that pool of insured people have an accident at the same time, that there won't be enough money to compensate all of them or the people that they've hurt. And when that happens, you're talking about uncompensated people, undercompensated people, and the distinct likelihood that an insurance company will be bankrupt as a result. Another problem with insurance is what we call moral hazard. Moral hazard describes the idea that people may act a little less carefully because they've got insurance, which is a very interesting idea. If you were distinctly aware that anytime you stepped out of the house and got in your car, that you could be in an accident, you'd probably drive very, very carefully. The problem is with moral hazard, sometimes unconsciously or subconsciously, the very notion that you've got insurance may incentivize you to operate a little less carefully. And that can feed back into the first problem where there isn't enough money to compensate people that have been hurt. So insurance is a great idea by concept, but at some point there may need to be an evolution of it. And the market attempts to do some other things to make sure that these problems are minimized. They can't be eliminated, but there's always a problem when it comes to looking to insure something because situations change. Again, what we're seeing in California and in Florida, where we're seeing an increase in frequency and severity of these weather events, these wildfires in particular, tsunamis. They have the potential to make maybe areas of the U.S. simply uninsurable.
That's what it appears like, especially, I mean, if you look at what the premiums are, it's almost, we're there now.
That's exactly right. I got a call from a client this afternoon, and they want to reduce their insurance because the cost of it's going up. And that is unfortunately what happens when it comes to certain kinds of risk. It may get to a point where it's just simply too expensive to insure against certain kinds of risk.
And then we're talking about now, lenders aren't going to lend for houses that don't have an insurance.
Exactly.
I mean, so it's an effect that it's going to affect. You won't be able to own a home.
Bingo.
And here's the point: you won't even be able to invest in what those things were, which was really real estate in and of itself.
Exactly.
Because even investors can't. They can't afford, because now rent goes crazy because of the amount of the insurance that you have to carry.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is that, man, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that? Because the people in Florida didn't know this was happening. The people in California didn't know this was happening. But
right.
Now it's at a point where the loss, and this is so interesting because the government is playing, they're playing a little game with this, because they be like, we can't buy this, we can't pay for this. But at the same time, if they don't, who will?
Excuse me. You're exactly right. I wish I had answers for this. I really don't. One possibility, and this is something that I don't think people really want to think about at this point, is that our way of life may have to change. I'm not really sure, based off of history and the way that humans have developed, whether we're meant to have big, sprawling homes. One idea is that people were meant to be nomadic. And I'm not a big fan of being a nomad, but maybe having homes that are easier to rebuild, less expensive. But that would represent a regression in the way that many people think of living, and it would be unpalatable. So I'm not even sure if my idea is a viable one, given how repulsive it would be to people, even if it would make our lives a little bit easier.
Well, I mean, again, that's merely taking an inventory as to understanding the impact of what the potential could be.
Absolutely.
I mean, you really, without clarity, because again, we're talking about a subject that I'm doing exactly what the client that you called today, you talked to today. I'm in the and it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing from the quotes that are coming in from the insurances as it relates to premiums. It is phenomenal how the differences that they are in prices.
Oh, yeah.
Based on how they evaluate the value of my home.
That's exactly right. And for businesses, we're talking about big numbers. So we need to think about something different.
Man, and if we don't get it, we don't learn anything, we're going to be other people, California and Florida. Most people look at those two states and go like, oh, they lucky, they got good weather all the time and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, okay, now what about when it started coming inside? Because this weather is an issue all the way across the country.
All over. I was thinking about how windy it had been in Maryland over the past month. And I'm from Maryland, and for the most part, I've lived here. I've lived in Atlanta, Michigan, Massachusetts, but I'm from here, and I've been here for the past 9 years now. So from 77 to 99, I lived here. And then from 2016 to now, I lived here. And I don't recall it ever being this windy here. It blew my fence down. We had to spend about $5,000 getting a fence repaired. Chicago's windy, but Maryland had been windy in a way that I just don't remember it being windy like this.
Again, it was a part of my conversation that I had last week. I was talking about the roots in the trees, really, that were not really fixed. They were just, the tree was just there, but the wind was blowing stuff down all over the place. And it just showed how strong it was rooted, and it wasn't. But the thing about it is, the wind is making it's making itself known.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Changing weather conditions. I mean, whether people want to call it climate change, it's still difficult or not. It's difficult to deny what's going on and the effect that it's having on all of us, really.
I guess what you're saying is change is inevitable, no matter what the situation is.
Absolutely.
We need to begin to think outside of the box, because things are changing, whether we want to accept it or not.
I think that's undeniable. So torts looks at risk, compensation, deterrence, and torts looks at how to deal with people who are acting intentionally. A big area of tort law is what we call negligence. And negligence is all about having a duty, a breach of that duty that causes damages. Those are 4 elements of negligence. And it's a very popular area to teach about as a law professor. It's an important area of law. How are we managing our duties vis-a-vis each other? And we all have duties not to hurt each other, and looking at the cost of hurting each other and how to manage all of that. And we see that all over the place, really, when it comes to new medical technologies, when it comes to new tools. Do the creators, the manufacturers, the designers of new technologies, new medical devices, new medical treatments, are they aware of risks? What are they doing about them? And how do we compensate people if they're hurt? 2 very popular scenarios, one from the 70s. Do you remember the car Pinto?
Oh, absolutely.
Anybody who's younger who's looking at this is going to be like, well, I don't know what they're talking about. Well, Pintos were a very popular car, relatively expensive. The designers had put the gas tank relatively close to the back of the car near the bumper. And there were a lot of explosions when these cars were being rear-ended in accidents. And you had a lot of plaintiffs' lawyers that were looking to sue. And they argued that these cars were designed in a defective fashion because of the way that they were exploding upon impact. Well, for a while, Pinto had gotten away with this, but at some point, a document had come out that showed that the designers of it were aware of there being an increased risk of explosions when these cars are rear-ended. Well, that's negligent. You have a duty to produce things in a safe way. They breached that duty, and the breach of that duty caused damages. That's a very popular example. What we see right now as a relatively new example, you can think about the Deepwater Horizon crisis, oil drilling. Getting oil out of the earth is relatively old, or relatively new, excuse me. And you could think about getting oil out of the earth like trying to stick a straw into the earth in different angles and in different depths to try to get oil out. Well, there are a lot of technologies that are being developed because we have to drill deeper and in different ways to get it. But are we doing it in a way that's safe? Or are we doing it in a way that's dangerous? if you recall, this is what 2000, I think 9 or 2010 when this happened. There were a lot of mistakes made. Some negligence had been allowed to persist, and oil had gotten out millions of barrels into the Gulf of Mexico, affected a lot of businesses, killed a lot of wildlife, affected a lot of people. There are, and I mean, all this stuff was litigated over years, but tort law is looking to compensate people. Is it perfect? No, and it has limits. Are these damages foreseeable based off of how things happen? It's a way of managing risk, private benefit, and social cost in a way that attempts to, again, compensate people and deter bad conduct. It is an imperfect system looking to help people, but it definitely has its imperfections, no doubt about it. Because at the end of the day, you can't compensate everybody.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think there is at least we know that there is a vehicle that is out there,
yes,
that has your best interest in mind as a plaintiff,
right?
As a plaintiff, and I think that's the message I think we can leave here today with, is that even when you're maybe not aware of what it's called, this tort, but the fact is that it's there in place for you and I. If we're wronged,
right,
in any way or fashion, we have an avenue that we can at least exhaust to being able to right that wrong.
That's true. That's definitely true.
Yeah, I mean, that's the minimum thing. If we can take that from this conversation, whether or not it's going to be adequate enough,
right?
It's subjective.
True.
But at least we can look at it and go, like, we have at least an avenue to address it through. Look, we have run over and over, but what we're going to do is, what is the point? What would you like the audience to take away as it relates to estate planning in general? If there's something that you'd like to leave them with in addition, because after that, I'm going to give everybody your information.
Please do. If there's one thing, call me. And what I mean by that is, call a professional, call an attorney. Don't let fear or superstition prevent you from at least getting answers to basic questions. People like me are here to help. Lawyer. I mean, there are a ton of lawyer jokes. We're the butt of a lot of them, but we're here to help. And helping people make sense of their affairs and plan for the future is really what we're all here for. So if there's any one message I could leave, whether it comes to business creation planning, mergers, estate planning, give me or somebody like me a call and let's talk.
Hey, I think that is what we're here to do, is to provide resources and to put needs with resources. And whenever we get the space and time to recognize that there is help out here.
Indeed.
And I think that's what you're saying is that you don't have to feel that you have to do it alone.
Exactly.
And so that's, again, the message of Clear Journey. We're here for you, to walk with you through this, giving you the resources that are necessary for you to navigate life more successfully.
I know that's
Hey, Troy, thank you very much. I think the information that you provide is priceless, but we really appreciate you spending some time with us today. And we look forward, hopefully, if anyone has any questions, please, he has his information up here, his organization, his company, his email address is there, T Brown, what is that?
T Brown.
Yeah. And your phone number there. So please, if you have any questions, you're in the Maryland, Baltimore, northern part of the Maryland area.
That's right.
By all means, give him a call. All right, Troy, thank you again very much for being here. And I would just let you go back, and I will be back to talk to you. Let me close the show, and I'll be back to stay. Thank you again. All righty. All righty, guys, we did it. Sorry, we ran over, but I think the information was so very, very useful. I think if we're open to understand that there's so many parallels to business and personal lives, that if we see the value in the things that we're doing, and understand that we can't be selfish to accommodate, to be able to navigate this thing called life. We really can't. We really got to get past that so that we can get the fullness out of this experience called life, and so that we can invest into the next generation. This thing is that we're the bridge to the next generation. How are we able to do that? Is being informed, have the right information, the necessary information to make the right decisions so that we can navigate this thing properly and correctly. So again, until next time, like we say every time, we can't change life, but we can surely help you navigate it. And until next time, we'll see you then.